Honestly, if it wasn't for the Nazbol and the transphobia stuff and the anti-Semitic stuff, if it wasn't for all that, I would find him charming in some weird way. I don't know what it is. It's the cut of his jib. It's just like, it's the way he composes himself. He's such an odd fellow. Does he ever smile? Has he ever smiled? Oh, but this man, this is a different story. We can never truly say goodbye to Caleb. And there's not much to talk about here. I just think no one else has his game, you know? He comes at it from a whole new angle. It's the pause. The art of the pause. I mean, anyone who's taken lessons in theater or drama, perhaps, they'll tell you about how difficult the pause is in comedy. It's very difficult to achieve. Almost impossible to master. And yet he gets it naturally. And then increases it. And does it again. And again. And then longer. And then sometimes you think he's stopped talking. Because he really pauses for a long ass time. But then he comes back. He's a one-man machine. Now, I don't have an hour and 43 minutes. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm just gonna play the first minute or so. And then I'm gonna admit I've seen the first like 14 minutes of, because I wanted to see what he was talking about. But he is also talking about the crazy day in America. So I mean, one of the biggest days in American history yesterday, certainly one of the largest ones in our lifetime. We've both lived through 9/11, but he came here to help us and give us the message of truth.
What's new? Bit of a wild day, isn't it? Strange day. A lot of things happened that I'm sure you were anxious to hear me talk about. Well, I am happy to talk about them with you and to give you the perspective that we all desperately need on today's insanity. I'm happy to give you that perspective, happy to engage with you, happy to be addressing our community about some very, very, very important issues, some very, very important events, and how to understand them. Now, the way we generally do things, the format is that
I know it's so slow. It's always from the highest angles and it's so slow. Oh, and he manually writes down super chats. If you didn't know that, it's the most darling thing. If it wasn't for the Nazbol and the transphobia stuff and the anti-Semitic stuff, if it wasn't for all that, I would find him charming in some weird way. I don't know what it is. It's the cut of his jib. It's just like, it's the way he composes himself. He's such an odd fellow. Does he ever smile? Has he ever smiled? Like, I think it would be so strange to see him smile. I don't know if I could take it. It'd be like, it's like when Mark Zuckerberg smiles. You're like, oh no, that doesn't suit you, sir. You should not be doing that. Don't do that with your face anymore. Keep it at where it's at. But anyways, I'm gonna skip ahead to like 6.
Trump had no chance of coming out of today victorious. There was absolutely nothing to be gained for Donald Trump or for anybody in this display of vulgar, destructive, vandal tendencies that we saw today.
So that's how he describes the events. Okay, it doesn't talk about terrorism or something like that. Vulgar, destructive tendencies.
We saw human beings acting like animals. We saw property destroyed. We saw.
I know he does. He truly does love his own voice a lot. It's one of those people who just always has to talk so slow as if it's condescending.
Just a display of crass, primitive, destructive instincts. It was disgusting. And it must be pointed out, Black Lives Matter would be.
I love it. Yeah. I'm disgusted by all of you. Now I just want to get to the Hong Kong parts. Oh, if you're wondering what's happening, he's not typing on his cell phone. He's writing down a super chat. Because when he gets the super chat, he manually writes them. He writes them out. Again, adorable.
Furthermore, in Venezuela, we've seen similar activities. from U.S. supporters.
Oh,
All right. Juan Guaido declares himself the president.
another super chat.
There have been violent attempts to seize the Supreme Court, all kinds of extreme violence and property destruction from people who want to bring down the government of Venezuela. And U.S. media supports it and cheers it on. Hong Kong. Crowds of people with Pepe the Frog and Trump signs and raving anti-communist extremists attack government buildings, light people on fire. U.S. media supports it.
Are you talking about the students? The student protests in Hong Kong for democracy? Did you just say the things I think you said? And then it was at this moment that I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. He works for RT. So because he works for RT, he's got that really skewed, strange worldview. And I don't understand, honestly, can I still say it? Yeah, I can say simping. I don't understand simping, by the way, for modern day Russia. Even if you were like someone who idolizes, Stalin or that era, I don't understand why you would want to do that for modern day Putin. That to me is a little bit unusual, but that one notwithstanding, the China one makes more sense to me. All right, it makes a lot more sense to me. In my opinion, there's a lot more positive things he could say about modern day China in his own worldview, right? But then also to not want to support the Hong Kong protesters, I don't understand why he has to make that distinction to the point where it's suddenly you want to say that they're lighting people on fire,
raving anti-communist extremists attack government buildings, light people on fire. U.S. media supports it. But now it happens in our own Capitol building, and
the Pepe Revolution, yeah.
U.S. media condemns it. Lots of hypocrisy there. Lots and lots of hypocrisy there.
That's like I mean, this is me judging the first 10 minutes, but that's his initial opening to what had happened yesterday. Like all the things that occurred. That's it. He wanted to compare it to. Well, sorry. First, he talks about Ukraine and says that Ukraine, the revolution in Ukraine recently, is anti-Semitic. I think we went too far.
If this had happened in Ukraine, it would have been called Euromaidan, because that's exactly what happened in Ukraine. Ukrainians who hate the Soviet Union, hate Jews, hate Russian speakers and ethnic Russians, stormed into the government buildings in Ukraine, in Kiev, destroyed property, seized control of the government, hung even the U.S. Confederate flag in the capital in Ukraine, and it was fully supported by American media. CNN cheered for it. In fact, Wolf Blitzer even did a whole special about the weapons these racist street fighters who overthrew the Ukrainian government and toppled the government of Yanukovych in Ukraine used. They went into great detail about it.
I have to ask. I'm assuming he's pro Yanukovych, right? I assume so. That's the only way to look about this.
All right.
Oh, he got a super chat. But don't worry, that's all I'll subject you to, because at the end of the day, it is also just like watching paint dry. It is very, very slow. I get that. I understand that. I think it's maybe me and Thought Slime. It's the two of us who are truly tickled by this man and his strange mannerisms. He's just so odd. He's so odd. Like, there's so many different internet personalities. And hey, we're helping him. He's been growing in popularity. He's at like 14 now. We're growing his brand, all right? We're uplifting him.
What lies around the corner? Never knowing who's going to kill you. Are you the next one to be murked? You never know if it's a friend or a foe. If you want to see the biggest names in BreadTube and Left Twitch and Butterthing and I don't know the fucking names anymore, come see Left Among Us.
If you want us to advertise your channel or work, please go to weareserfs.com and email us a 20 to 30 second ad, and we'll take it on to the end of one of our videos to help promote your leftist channel or progressive something. Whatever you do.
To our God, I'm Raft, Xander Corvus, and Schlatsky, we shall commit blood sacrifices in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, our lives are yours to command. To our lords, Jeffrey Lamb, Trevor R., Stephen, Hans Josephine, Poppy Nelson, Ryan Lubin, Jimothy K. Meeblebeeps Jr., we bow meekly for your pleasure. To our Knights of the Round Table, Josh Mickelson, Dylan Bythe, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, Political Puppy, Jimmy Bignuts, Andreas Chitoro, Good Poon Hates Cops, That's Solid Poon Then, Dr. Zayas, Yopi, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Jack Darko, Thomas Barretton, J. Fraser Cartwright, Goofalankius, Melissa Murphy, Nicholas Marks, Alexander Thaler, Ali Rada Jaffer, Alex Gauvin, Radical Maniac, we salute you.